Now, as a hunter, whitetail habitat manager, whitetail passionate enthusiast, whatever you are, I'm sure that you've seen there's a lot of science out there about whitetail rubs, buck rubs, scrapes, and for a second I'd like you to just basically throw all the science out there. We don't care if it's a community scrape, a perennial scrape, a signpost rub, whatever it might be. Rubs and scrapes are a lot different, obviously, from when a buck makes them and use them, and how deer use them in general. And I'd like you to think of a couple different ways to view this as it relates to your hunting and your habitat management, and especially as it boils down to a camera census. I've seen rubs, in particular this one right here, that we put a camera on after this rub was made 2 years ago, and there wasn't one buck that came by it the rest of the season, and I felt like I wasted a camera spot here. Other rubs get hammered, it seems like, every other day or once a week. But rarely does a rub get hit every day by every single deer that walks by. In fact, I don't know about you, but I've never seen a doe make a rub. And I've seen some button bucks rub their little nubs on a rub before. But a mock scrape, a scrape in the woods, can be an incredibly social hotspot. A rub is not a social hotspot. You add a rubbing post to a small harvest hunting plot or in front of your stand, don't expect a lot of activity there. It's kind of cool. Put a camera on it, maybe even have a bug that you can, you put this nice horizontal rub or a rubbing post on your food plot or in front of your stand. You get a picture of a buck coming by and rubbing it. Kind of cool. But what does that really mean? In this case right here, there is a good movement through here, but typically it's over there, over there. I've seen a lot of times where a rub is just made by a buck out of anger. His attitude, his passion. I had a buck who ended up harvesting that later that day, be a 6-7-year-old buck in Southwest Wisconsin back in maybe 2004, 2003, right around there. And he was tangling with another buck. There's a hot doe there. And so I watched him from the stand, unfortunately about 150 yards away with a bow, so I couldn't do anything about it. And he pushed that 3-year-old buck, the older buck, pushed that 3-year-old buck sideways through the brush, through a bunch of red willow. After that, he proceeded to make about 30 rubs within that red willow. Now, did that buck ever come back to those red willow? I know the one that I shot didn't. I shot that older one later that afternoon. But the point is, he made those rubs out of anger. He just had an attitude, and he made it. Compare that to a scrape. We have mock scrapes that we've made and put a camera on to complete a census or to at least look at the bucks in the area. And not only do we get bucks visiting those scrapes every single day, but we get does and fawns visiting those same scrapes every single day. In fact, sometimes I feel that every doe or buck that walks by that, including fawns, during a daily basis, visits that scrape. Highly social. In the case of some rubs, they do define a line of travel across a ridge line, a hillside, a saddle, maybe along a bench, maybe along a habitat change line. So it's important to read rubs for what they are, basically an indication of travel. But to put a rub out in front of your stand and expect a bunch of bucks to come there because that rub is in there, I just don't see it. Scrapes, on the other hand, not only a great place, great habitat feature to put in front of your deer stand, but a great spot to hang a camera. So I have seen bucks that'll go out of the ways for a scrape, especially one that's hidden in the woods, off the field edges, and it's already in a line of travel. Of course, maybe a buck won't travel 100 yards out of the way to go to a certain scrape, but I've seen them, they will alter their travel by 20, 30 yards to get to that scrape, which if you're a bow hunter, a passionate bow hunter like I am myself, then that might be the difference, and that might be the distance to help you close the deal. Think about that. They're both incredibly cool features. I mean, look at the history of this tree right here in this rub. This is a giant rub. There's trees rubbed behind me, down the hill. This obviously gets rubbed every year, but does it get rubbed more than once? It didn't 2 years ago, and that's what I want you to consider. Rubs versus scrapes, there's different uses for each one of them. And if you want to put a camera out and get a lot of pictures, consider a mock scrape this year, consider a perennial scrape, and I think you'll enjoy your results.